Hey fellas, in this video, I'm going to try and either debunk or get you to think differently about the GoldenDuo theory. If you don't know, GoldenDuo is the theory that the Golden Freddy suit is inhabited by two spirits, the spirit of the victim of the bite of 83, who I'll be calling Dave, and Cassidy, who has only been mentioned in the game's timeline in the survival logbook from 2018. I'm getting most of the information for these theories from the FNAF Theories wiki, which can be found linked in the description, and various YouTubers which will be credited when I talk about the information. If I don't credit someone that you've seen present the evidence I'm discussing, I just didn't watch their video. I'm gonna start with the weakest and easiest to debunk, the FNAF 3 bad ending screen. Some claim that the lights in the eye sockets correlate to the amount of spirits in the animatronic heads, and that Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy all have one light, while Golden Freddy has two. I think this is the weakest because you can see in the unaltered image that the light is clearly coming primarily out of the right eye and being reflected within the head to come softly out of the left eye, and you can see the same effect on a couple of the other heads in the image. A similar piece of evidence is from a teaser on ScottGames.com from shortly after FNAF 4, which shows a model very similar to the Golden Freddy from FNAF 1 with no withering, but shows an eyeball instead of the white dots that were shown in FNAF 1. I think this is more of a change of lighting in the scene than a conscious decision to change how Golden Freddy is represented and add a new spirit shown in his eye. As far as I can tell, everything else about the model and pose is exactly the same, so it seems odd to me for Scott to change it 3 years before Cassidy's name is ever present in the game's timeline at all. I think this theory mostly just piggybacked off of the bad ending eye theory. Another small piece of evidence is the girlish laugh used for Golden Freddy in FNAF 1. But this is a stock sound, and I also don't think a girl's laugh is all that distinguishable compared to an 8-year-old boy's laugh. The next and most famous evidence is the survival logbook. Within the logbook, there are seemingly two spirits that are communicating using the logbook as a conduit, one of them altering text and the other adding new, faded text. We know that Cassidy would be the one talking in faded text because of the questions she is asking Dave, who is the altered text. She asks if the Fredbear plush toy talks to him like he did in FNAF 4, and if he had a purple phone toy as a child, among other things that only Dave from FNAF 4 could know. We know their names from solving two word searches, one of them solving as Cassidy through faded text clues and one solving as Dave through altered text clues. With all of that in mind, I ask what part of this implies the sharing of an animatronic. The only pointer I can think of is Dave saying "I can't see" at one point, which some take to mean that Dave is possessing a part of the suit separate from the head or eyes. This is similar to the character of the Stitch Wraith from the Fazbear Frights anthology books. The Stitch Wraith is an animatronic that's inhabited by two spirits, one shown to be angry and one shown to be forgiving, with one possessing the head and being able to see, and the other possessing the battery and not being able to see. Dave saying "I can't see" doesn't need to refer to Dave possessing a part of Golden Freddy that isn't able to see, and I think the evidence of Dave being able to communicate "it's me" to Mike implies that he can see and understand his surroundings. It's possible that he's just stuck in a dark back room while the survival logbook is being used as a mechanism for communication between Dave, Michael, and a third entity, who'd be Cassidy. I think it's a massive jump in logic to assume that two spirits communicating means they must be within the same animatronic, especially since it's shown to not be necessary in the games, books, and movies. A small thing I'd like to mention is that if we go off the fact that the altered text needs to be the bite victim due to the questions being asked to them, the text being altered in the word search to find Cassidy's name points more so towards the bite victim's name being Cassidy instead of Dave, and as a point against Cassidy being another character at all. More evidence that Dave not seeing doesn't matter is that it wouldn't imply a second spirit controlling its head, and that's implied not to matter as much in one of the endings for the interactive novel The Week Before. While I don't believe that The Week Before is a part of the main game's canon, I believe the scene with Golden Freddy physically holding Ralph, the phone guy's head, in place and repeating "it's me" shows that Dave can control Golden Freddy in some physical way, which chooses to be more mystical and appear as ghostly in the games. An interesting part of this scene is that Ralph starts to hear a woman's voice say, "It's me, thank you, you did it, she'll be alright now, she's safe, she's safe." She then keeps repeating "she's safe" until it drowns out Golden Freddy. While some may jump on this as Cassidy confirmation, I find the line "she's safe" to point more towards the puppet. I know it sounds like I'm grasping at straws here, and trust me, I feel kind of like a dick, but I just don't see Cassidy being hinted at once, maybe twice in 2018, and then just being confirmed in an interactive novel in a role exactly the same as the puppet, being a protector and setting up Ralph from the book to complete a series of tasks on Night 6 in the novel. The she that the puppet is referring to is Coppelia, Ralph's daughter from the novel who's in danger according to another character, and in one ending is turned into an animatronic that's described as Chica without a bib. Due to this, the presence of a female voice referring to another girl doesn't require it to be Cassidy and Charlie or something crazy like referring to Elizabeth. It can be the puppet that is shown as a protector referring to another girl being saved through Ralph's actions. I'd admit this is probably my weakest argument, because the question of why use Golden Freddy as the conduit to say it's me and she's safe should be asked, and I don't have a perfect answer. My best guess would be that Golden Freddy is the most mystical entity in general, and especially in the FNAF 1 location, so it would be the most logical one to choose in the story. Another point that's often brought up refers to the Fazbear Fright story, The New Kid, in which a new kid called Kelsey comes to a school and the main character Devon gets jealous of him when Kelsey becomes extremely popular and abandons Devon within a day or two. This leads Devon to pull a prank on Kelsey by bringing him to an old run-down Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and locking him in an old rotting Golden Freddy suit. Once locked inside, Kelsey struggles and triggers the spring locks inside, killing him after a short struggle. In shock, Devon leaves his body for a few days before being guilted into going back to check on him and see if he's somehow still alive. When Devon reaches inside the mouth to feel for Kelsey, he sees that instead of Kelsey's bright blonde hair, he sees a different kid with dark hair, before the suit's spring locks trigger again and crush Devon's arm, causing him to bleed out and die, just like Kelsey supposedly did. There's a scene after this of Kelsey at a new school, approaching a new set of loners, presumably to do the same again. This sparked a lot of debate, like anything including Golden Freddy does, with people discussing whether Kelsey and the other kid in the suits operate similarly to how Cassidy and Dave would in the games, with Dave being in the suit physically and Cassidy being more abstract and able to appear as a projection, which is especially compelling if you believe that Cassidy is the one you should not have killed from Ultimate Custom Night, the spirit that's keeping William Afton in a personal hell. I however think that this story is showing a different possibility, where the spirit inhabiting Golden Freddy is a vengeful one, and takes out its anger on loner kids that wrong him first, using Kelsey as a projection. While it seems odd that the spirit would choose to appear as a completely different kid with a different hair color that matches the Golden Freddy spirit from the movie, by the way, I think it could be explained by Devon's constant references to Kelsey's looks, and that they have a large part in his popularity, so choosing to look different is a key part of the plan. It also seems like things other than Kelsey could be projections themselves, like the Freddy's that just materializes one day, and Kelsey's neighbor that takes him and his friends back to Kelsey's new house, despite Kelsey not having real parents due to being dead as hell. This would be a way bigger projection than we've seen before, but it would be kind of similar to how Golden Freddy's projections in the games work, changing posters to look like newspapers or his face and causing hallucinations of "it's me" and giggling. I've seen a weird belief that William survived being spring-locked and is alive as of FNAF 3 and even FNAF 6, and that he would have survived due to the novel trilogy showing him literally surviving 2 of them, and because of another Fright story that shows a version of William Afton after the FNAF 6 fire being kept alive by the one you should not have killed. I honestly don't understand why this belief exists. If you look side by side between William's depiction in the book's graphic novel and Springtrap in FNAF 3, you can clearly see the distinction between surviving and possessing the suit. I also don't see how the story of William being kept alive means he must literally be alive after FNAF 6 in the game's canon, considering the books are made with the assumption that someone with zero knowledge of William Afton might read them. So it's much easier to get the point across by him being in a hospital and somehow kept alive, versus his soul or whatever being dragged into UCN in the games. There's also a belief that GoldenDuo must be true, because a Golden Freddy spirit is released in Happiest Day, yet there is still a Golden Freddy entity in the series, such as the Golden Freddy cutscene in UCN, and the It's Me Easter egg in FNAF Help Wanted. Although I honestly think this is as simple as saying that the Happiest Day and good ending of FNAF 3 might not be fully canon. The events of Happiest Day seemingly released the spirits of the children from the MCI and Charlie the Puppet. Despite this, we continue to see them in later games past the events of UCN, such as the marionette plushies that are all over Security Breach's pizzeria, implying some kind of power Charlie has over it. Some people might hate that, and I understand why, but I really think it's the most likely outcome, seeing that there's still some kind of entity or entities inhabiting the blob after the FNAF 6 fire. A reason for having Happiest Day in the game at all is showing that there could be more for the spirits if they chose to move on, and some, if not all of them, can't or won't. If you really wanted to make it matter, you could say that the core 4 passed on, but Charlie and Dave are kept behind by choice. If you believe that a good ending is implicitly true due to being labeled the good ending, I'd ask you what about Security Breach's good ending, or Secret of the Mimics that would be impossible to be canon due to fixing up the mimic that we see decades later angry as ever. Next, I want to talk about the sets of gravestones in the FNAF World Update 2 Graveyard. I don't see how they exactly point towards GoldenDuo, like some people jump to. In the graveyard, you can find a set of 6 graves next to the purple guy sprite, and another separate gravestone that's closest to a Fredbear sprite. I don't really see how a set of 6 and another separate 1 can point to 2 spirits inhabiting one suit, and I think there are 2 way more likely solutions to this. Either the 6 represent the victims of the missing children's incident plus either Dave or Charlotte, or that it could be less literal, as FNAF World isn't really literal if anything, and the 6 graves are the same as in the FNAF 6 Insanity ending, and the separate grave is a copy, saying yes, one of the graves is related to Fredbear/Golden Freddy. I'd like to wrap up this video by saying that I have nothing against anyone that believes in the GoldenDuo theory or any of the theories that I disagree with. I find these discussions very fun and interesting, and I like re-examining a lot of evidence through a different lens. I'd also say that if there's some damn near unimpeachable evidence for GoldenDuo in the future or that I don't know about, I'm not the kind of person to cry about it or deny it just so I can be right. I find the concept of GoldenDuo very interesting, I just happen to disagree with it. Have a good day, fellas. See ya.